Hello, my name is Janice, and I'd like to share a story filled with twists and turns. One that weaves together themes of love, betrayal, and the pursuit of self respect. Before diving in, let me introduce the key players in this unfolding drama. The story begins with me, Janice. I was born into a well off family, a background some might consider privileged. From the outside, it appeared I had it all, a life of luxury from the very start. Yet my parents instilled in me the value of hard work and the importance of earning my keep instead of relying solely on family wealth. My father, a self-made mogul in the engine additive industry, transformed a small niche business into a thriving empire. Meanwhile, my equally industrious mother established a successful chain of beauty salons, becoming a prominent figure in the industry. Their divorce when I was 21 was handled with remarkable grace. They split their assets evenly and maintained a friendship, no small feat in the realm of divorce. My father chose to embrace single life, immersing himself in his business and relishing his independence, while my mother remarried, though I remained her only child. Then there's Matthew, my husband, who would ultimately become the catalyst for a significant upheaval in my life. We married shortly after I graduated college, and I had just begun a job teaching music to energetic children, a role I cherished. Everything seemed perfect until I discovered I was pregnant, and that's when Matthew's true colors began to emerge. One lazy Sunday afternoon, as he lounged on the sofa, Matthew casually suggested I quit my job to stay home with the baby. "Why don't you just quit and stay at home? We'll manage," he said, completely unfazed. I was taken aback. Quitting my job was simply not an option on his salary alone, and I loved my work. Yet Matthew dismissed my concerns with a smirk, suggesting we could easily lean on my father's wealth. I was infuriated by his assumption that we could just tap into my parents' resources. This wasn't the first time he'd hinted at it, but discussing it so nonchalantly felt utterly disrespectful. The situation escalated during a dinner with his parents, where he brought it up again. Both his mother, sharp and opportunistic, and his father, who never missed a chance to offer unsolicited advice, enthusiastically supported the idea, painting grand visions of a comfortable life funded by my family's money. Each comment cut deeper, making me feel more like a means to an easier life than a partner in a marriage. That night, as I lay beside Matthew, an overwhelming sense of isolation washed over me. I questioned him softly, hoping I'd misunderstood his intentions. He turned to face me, his eyes once warm, now calculating, and said, "It's not about need, Janice. It's about being smart. Your parents can afford it, and we deserve a break. Why not take advantage of that?" The word deserve echoed in my mind long after he fell asleep. It became painfully clear that our values regarding dignity and independence were fundamentally at odds. This realization marked the beginning of a profound personal journey for me, one in which I would grapple with how much of my values I was willing to compromise. We were on divergent paths, holding on to differing beliefs close to our hearts. I found myself awake, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with missed warnings and an uncertain future. Despite the initial clash over financial independence and personal pride with Matthew, I clung to a faint hope that we might reconcile our perspectives. Unfortunately, I was mistaken. Enter Matthew's parents, bringing with them a whirlwind of chaos. They were hardly paragons of self-sufficiency, possessing an uncanny ability to seek out handouts. My family's financial stability was like a beacon calling to them. One evening, as we sat in our modest living room, David began pitching a new business venture that he claimed only needed a little startup cash. "Janice, darling," Mary chimed in with her cloyingly sweet tone, "with your family's backing, you could give us a leg up on this. It's practically a sure thing." I struggled to maintain my composure as I replied, "Mary, David, I've mentioned before that we're handling our finances without outside help. My parents' wealth isn't part of this conversation." But David persisted, sounding like a seasoned salesman. "Come on, Janice. You wouldn't even notice the money gone. What's a few thousand to your dad? He probably spends it on golf over a weekend." I was taken aback by their audacity. There they were, comfortably settled in our home, taking advantage of our hospitality while shamelessly eyeing my family's hard-earned wealth as if they were entitled to it. Matthew tried to play mediator, suggesting, "Maybe they have a point. It's just a loan, right? We'd be helping family." The word family left a bitter taste in my mouth. Since when did it become our responsibility to fund his parents' ventures? The atmosphere turned icy. Mary, never one to shy away from drama, exclaimed, Well, I never. Here we thought families supported each other. But if you're going to be stingy. Seeing red, I shot back, working for what you have isn't stingy, Mary. It's called being responsible. Maybe you should consider that. David, trying to ease the tension, intervened. Look, Janice, let's not get upset. We're just talking here. Talking? I retorted sarcastically, frustrated that our conversations always circled back to how my family could solve their problems. After they left, Matthew apologized for his parents' misunderstanding, but I lay awake that night, realizing this wasn't a simple misunderstanding. It was an outright intrusion by two people who saw me not as a family member but as an easy financial resource. When our daughter Elizabeth was born, I had hoped for a shift in dynamics, but things only intensified. Matthew's parents arrived at the hospital with cheap, clearance-tagged onesies, while my parents brought a beautifully hand-knitted blanket and quality baby essentials. Mary's response to their generosity dripped with scorn and jealousy. Wow, really laying it on thick, aren't they? Must be nice to throw money around. They could have bought you a house instead of all this fluff. Matthew laughed along. Yeah, Mom's right, your folks don't hold back. A house might have been more practical, huh? Holding our newborn, my heart sank. Here I was, a new mother caught between the joy of my daughter's arrival and the unyielding pressure of familial expectations. I was struggling to navigate a path that honored my values while maintaining peace. It dawned on me that this struggle wasn't just about money, it was about respect, boundaries, and the kind of future I wanted for my family. As I cradled my daughter, all Matthew and his parents seemed to focus on was how my parents had chosen to spend their money. Hearing Matthew echo his mother's mercenary thoughts was painful. Did they see our daughter as just another way to secure financial gain? I tried to keep the peace, insisting, it's not about the price tag, it's the thought that counts. But David was relentless. Sure, but think about it. Investing in property now, that's a gift that keeps on giving. The car ride home from the hospital was strained. Matthew tried to reassure me, claiming his parents were just old-fashioned and meant no harm. Doubts began to gnaw at me. Was Matthew's affection genuine, or was he more interested in my family's wealth? A few weeks later, during another uninvited visit, the topic arose again. We were squeezed into our living room, Elizabeth fussing in my arms when Mary couldn't resist commenting on the new stroller my mom had gifted us. Must be nice having your folks shower Elizabeth with all these fancy toys and gadgets. Though a contribution to a house fund would have been more useful, don't you think? Her voice dripped with passive aggression. Matthew, sitting next to his mother, chimed in. Actually, babe, we've been thinking maybe your parents could help with a down payment instead of more baby stuff. Makes sense, right? I was stunned. Not only were Matthew's parents relentless, but now Matthew was echoing their sentiments, turning our daughter's birth into leverage for financial gain. I felt trapped in a twisted reality where love and family were overshadowed by material wealth. Is that what this is about for you, Matthew? Using my parents for money? I couldn't mask the hurt in my voice. I thought we were in this together, for better or worse, not for richer or poorer. Matthew seemed taken aback, but Mary merely sniffed. Well, when your wife's parents are wealthy, it's only practical to think about these things. After they left, I lay awake, Elizabeth sleeping peacefully beside me, and the harsh truth hit me. My marriage and family felt like a transaction, and I was the currency. The ensuing years became a roller coaster. Elizabeth blossomed into a spirited 4-year-old, brimming with life and laughter, but life threw unexpected curveballs. First, it was my mother. Her accident was sudden and devastating. I was engulfed in grief, struggling to hold myself together for Elizabeth's sake. But Matthew's first question wasn't about how I was coping. Instead, he asked, so, how much are you getting from your mom's will? It felt like a slap in the face. My mother hadn't even been laid to rest, and there he was, eyeing her legacy like a vulture. According to my mom's will, I inherited the beauty salon chain, something I had no idea how to run. Yet Matthew was eager to step in. Babe, let me handle this. You know I've got a knack for business, he offered, his usual confidence shining through. Lost in my grief, I allowed him to take the lead, even though I made sure the ownership papers stayed in my name. I hoped, perhaps naively, that he might turn things around for us. But barely a year later, my father passed away from a heart attack. Losing both my parents in such a short time shattered something inside me. I needed Matthew more than ever, but I was beginning to realize that our views on money, support, and family were worlds apart. The day after my father's passing, I was reeling from the loss, hoping for some semblance of sympathy or at least respectful silence from Matthew and his parents. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be. As soon as they walked through the door, David barely hid his excitement, eagerly speculating about the inheritance. "So, Janice, there must be a hefty sum coming your way, huh?" His eyes gleamed with barely contained glee. I saw red. "Can you not, for once, just stop talking about money?" I exploded, my words ringing sharply through the room. Mary adopted an offended demeanor immediately. "Well, I never. We're just concerned about the family's future. No need to be rude." Matthew attempted to smooth things over as usual. "They're just curious. It's a big deal, you know." "A big deal," I echoed, my voice rising in disbelief. "My parents are gone, Matthew. And all you and your parents can think about is cashing in. Is that all I am to you? A bank?" The room fell silent, the tension so thick it felt tangible. Matthew glanced between me and his parents, mumbling a half-hearted apology. But the damage was done. I could no longer stand the sight of their greed, their complete lack of empathy. "Get out," I said, my voice steady but ice-cold. They left, with Mary muttering under her breath and David scowling. Matthew lingered, trying to justify his parents' behavior, but I was beyond listening. 3 days later, Matthew burst through the door, his face alight with what he considered good news. "Baby, I've got awesome news," he exclaimed, barely containing his excitement. "I struck a deal to sell the hair salon chain. Can you believe it?" My jaw dropped. "What? You did what?" Without even asking me, I was seething, a mix of betrayal and disbelief coursing through me. Before we could delve into a serious discussion, his parents showed up, ready to celebrate as if we'd won the lottery. They brought a lavish feast from a fancy restaurant and high-end cigars. Mary was beaming, waving the cigars in my face. "Guess what, honey? We sold the old condo and put down a deposit on a beach house. We're all moving to the coast." I felt as if I were trapped in a nightmare. "Hold on, you what?" "Nobody asked me about moving. I don't want to live by the beach with all that humidity and wind. Are you out of your mind?" Mary dismissed my concerns with a wave of her hand. "Oh, don't worry about that. We've booked a crew. You should come with us. It'll be fabulous." "Where is this money coming from?" I demanded, my patience wearing thin. "Well, darling, with your father's passing and the sale of the salons, money's no object now. We're set for life. Think about it. Yachts, private jets. We're living the dream." Mary's eyes sparkled with dollar signs. I turned to Matthew, utterly dumbfounded. "Why are we even talking about selling my mom's business again? And what's this nonsense about being set for life?" "Babe, it makes sense," Matthew insisted. "Managing both businesses will be too much. We need to focus on what's more profitable. It's for our future, for our daughter's future." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The greed, the audacity of it all. It was overwhelming. "Show me the financials for the salon," I demanded. "I want to see everything before we make any rash decisions." Matthew squirmed, avoiding eye contact. "Look, it's all about our future, about making sure we're comfortable," he replied, but his parents chimed in, pressing me to just let go and enjoy the windfall. As they spoke, it became painfully clear that this wasn't just about securing a comfortable future. It was about exploiting my grief and inheritance for their gain. Surveying the scene before me, I felt like vultures were circling overhead. "Why the sudden rush to sell the hairdressing shops?" I pressed, wanting an explanation. With a nonchalant shrug that seemed to dismiss the gravity of the situation, he replied, "Look, after your dad's passing, managing both businesses doesn't add up. We need to concentrate on what's more profitable. The auto oil venture is literally striking gold compared to the salons." His parents quickly joined the conversation, eagerly chiming in. "Think about it, dear. Selling those small shops could set you up for a life of comfort and luxury. Why bother with them?" His mother's voice dripped with greed, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Their blatant avarice made my skin crawl. "I want you all to leave," I demanded, my voice steady and strong. "This is a time for mourning, not for scavenging through what he left behind." Matthew attempted to interject, but I silenced him. "And another thing, this inheritance we're discussing, it's mine. You and your parents have no say in this matter." The room chilled as they realized I wasn't as compliant as they had assumed. With heavy steps and dark scowls, they left, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the looming battle ahead. The day after my father's funeral was bleak, shrouded in a fog of sorrow. Matthew, however, seemed oblivious to the somber mood. Over a lackluster breakfast, he declared, "We need to call a meeting with your father's company executives, pronto." His voice cut through the silence aggressively. I paused, toast in hand, looking at him in disbelief. "Matthew, my father has just been laid to rest. Can't this wait? I need time to process all of this." He dismissed my concerns with a casual flick of his hand, emphasizing that time was money and we had to act swiftly. Frustrated and seeking some solid footing, I contacted our family lawyer for a detailed overview of the barbershop chain's status and insights into my father's business dealings. A month passed, filled with legal jargon and financial statements, during which Matthew and his parents returned, bombarding me with unsolicited advice and greedy propositions. Without even greeting me, Matthew dove straight into conversation. "You know, I've been thinking, I'm the right man to take over your dad's company." His audacious statement left me dumbfounded. But he wasn't finished. "And I'll need a new car, something that fits a business leader. The latest BMW should suffice." Before I could respond, Mary jumped in with her extravagant demands. "The beach house is nearly done. We just need an additional $460,000 for finishing touches and some extra for new luxury furniture. And darling, I expect you to fund an account for my expenses. I need to maintain my lifestyle." Listening to their relentless demands, something within me snapped. "No more." I stood firm, clutching the divorce papers like a protective talisman. I interrupted their chatter, my voice firm and resolute. "Matthew, we need to talk." I placed the documents in front of him on the coffee table. He picked them up, confusion etching his face. "What's this?" he managed to ask, his voice trembling. "Divorce papers," I announced, each word clear and decisive. "I've had the business audited. Matthew, you've driven it to the brink of collapse." As I confronted him about the mismanagement of our business, his face paled, his demeanor that of a child caught in a wrongdoing. "I was trying to make things better," he stammered, his excuses as fragile as his waning confidence. "Make it better by firing our most talented staff and neglecting the essentials that kept the business thriving," I retorted, my voice rising, fueled by a potent mix of anger and betrayal. Mary, ever the meddler, couldn't resist butting in. "Now, dear, let's remember he's entitled to half of everything. Marriage binds assets after all." I couldn't help but laugh, though it was devoid of any joy. "Nice try, but everything's been in my name since before I made the colossal mistake of marrying your son. He gets nothing from me." The room fell silent as their grandiose plans crumbled before my eyes. "And another thing," I continued, fixing Matthew with a firm gaze. "You're going to repay every penny you've cost the business. Every single penny." When the reality of the divorce sank in, Matthew became desperate. "Please, can't we talk about this? There has to be another way," he begged, his voice cracking with desperation. Not to be outdone in theatrics, his parents launched into a tearful saga about how they had sunk all their funds into the coastal house, a property now at risk without further investment. "We're going to lose everything," his mother sobbed, tears flowing freely. "Please think of what this means for us." I listened, my heart hardened by their previous actions, feeling nothing but cold detachment. "Sorry, but that's your mess," I said, my tone firm and resolute. With newfound determination, I guided them to the door, closing it behind them and leaving this chapter of my life behind. In the days that followed, I didn't dwell on the past. Instead, I focused on the future. Selling the apartment that Matthew and I once shared provided just enough for a quaint, welcoming house that promised a new beginning for my daughter and me. Stepping into our new home, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, a sense of peace enveloping us in a way that had been missing for far too long. The wheels of justice turned slowly but surely. When they finally caught up with Matthew, he was ordered by the courts to compensate for the turmoil he had inflicted on the hairdresser chain. His recklessness had a price, and he was forced to liquidate his share of our old apartment to meet his financial obligations. Watching him be held accountable was a bittersweet vindication for all the hardships he had caused. Out of nowhere, my phone rang one day, and on the other end was my former mother-in-law. Her voice tinged with desperation. "We're in a bind. We need help to buy a place. Any amount would help," she pleaded. Her audacity left me incredulous. I took a deep breath, collecting my thoughts before responding. "You made your bed." My tone was steady and resolute. "It's time you lie in it." Ending the call, a mix of emotions washed over me. My anger at their continued sense of entitlement was undeniable, but there was also a profound relief in having finally set firm boundaries. After the tumultuous divorce and reclaiming control over my mother's hairdressing chain, life began to brighten again. It was a challenging journey, but gradually the salons started to regain their former vibrancy, welcoming back the talented stylists we had lost. It felt like a triumphant parade watching them walk through those doors again, ready to weave their magic. It turned out I was more suited for the business world than I had ever imagined. Every day brought new lessons and surprises about what I could achieve. If not for the harsh twists life threw my way, I might never have discovered this capability within myself. Managing my father's car oil business was another challenge, so I decided to hire a manager to oversee operations while I acclimated to the industry. "It's all yours for now, but keep me in the loop," I told him, making it clear that I was still the one in charge. I thought about the future. Maybe when Elizabeth is around 22, I might pass it on to her if she's interested. I wanted her to have options to choose her path. Meanwhile, our new home, just Elizabeth and me, became a sanctuary of peace, a stark contrast to the chaos we had left behind. It was small, but it was ours, a place where we could grow, heal, and start anew. Every corner of our home was filled with laughter, every nook cradling a memory we were creating together. In the garden, Elizabeth's laughter was a balm to my soul. "Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be just like you," she said, her eyes alight with wonder and admiration. "You're going to be even more amazing," I responded, pulling her into a hug. Deep down, I knew we were on the brink of something wonderful together. We were unstoppable, ready to embrace whatever the future held with open arms and hopeful hearts.